This is the one. Okay, so this was the one on the Holocene by Markov. Now your thing about him becomes relevant. So yeah, you had that quote from Markov. I don't know if people want to, but look, I'm happy to accept that. I've read the paper. I know exactly what he said. I mean, I'm not a statistician. I assume you're not a statistician, but the way that I see it is that because the proxies were done over a 120-year period, so they don't take individual days when they're doing proxies over a 10,000-year period. You can only work on chunks of time, so they use 120 years. Whereas if we're looking at recent warming over the last 10, 20, or 50 years, that's obviously less, and therefore you're not really comparing chalk and cheese. That's why it's not statistically robust. But it doesn't mean that the current temperatures are a fabrication or a figment of his imagination. It's just not the way statistics is done.
No, I mean, I read that statement earlier. He just does not stand behind this. Okay. So if we're all about the science and we
Well,
want solid science here, he
not
is
what
not
he,
standing behind it. So yeah,
that's not what he said. He said it's not statistically robust, and he explained why. He did not
wait,
say, I don't stand behind
no,
this.
well, okay. You think he stood behind it? Let me read it again.
Hey, I got
Thus, no, let me read it again.
yeah,
Thus, the 20th century portion of our paleo temperature stack is not statistically robust, cannot be considered representative of global temperature changes, and therefore is not the basis of any of our conclusions. So that is not standing behind it. You can think of any other phrase you want, but he's not standing behind it. He's
that was
saying,
statistically robust does not mean that. But anyway,
what does it mean? What do you think he meant by
I
that?
just explained it to you. What it means is that you're not really comparing chalk and cheese. Okay, I
Okay.
give you an example because I got an example here which I hope you will appreciate. Um, where is it? There we go. Now, this is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And I screenshot this, I think yesterday or the day before. Dow Jones Industrial Average at the moment is about 40,000. If let's say you took today's average over the day, it's going to be in about the 40,000 range. Now, we want to compare that to the 2000s. If you look around the year 2000, the Dow Jones was about 10,000 for several years. And let's say we want to compare now and then. Well, the green shows the monthly averages. But if you want to compare today's temperatures, that's a daily average. That's not statistically robust. The only way that could be statistically robust is if you had daily readings of the Dow Jones throughout this graph, but that would just be too many, so they don't do it. Now, the only way that they're okay, clearly this shows that modern temperatures are higher than they were in the 2000s.
Yeah, but we're not trying to predict
But
stock prices using tree rings or anything. This has nothing to do with that.
you,
Tree rings are not a thermometer. You can't predict stock prices. Has nothing to do with it. There's this whole XKDC thing. I see this cartoon up all the time that shows it nice and flat for thousands of years, and then a big uptick at the end. They're going, look at how stable it was all that time. But that's not statistically robust. They've smoothed out all the fluctuations. So the whole because it's fluctuating now means that that's something new. It's not. It fluctuated all the time. Why would we not believe it?
if I can just get back to the analogy, what I'm
Okay.
trying to explain.
Okay.
Um, that is not statistically robust, even though it's clear that the temperatures now, I mean, the Dow Jones now is much higher than it was in the 2000s. The reason it's not statistically robust is because that was done on a monthly basis. It is entirely possible that one of those days in the 2000s, the Dow Jones suddenly, if you look at that spike, it suddenly on one day spiked
Yeah.
and went up from
Oh,
10,000 to 40,000. And there's no way of knowing that because you don't have the monthlies. Now, this is the same with the Markov graph.
no, this
It,
has
it's
nothing to do with it. Yeah, that example has nothing to do with it. What I'm doing is I'm going to put there's a very important no tricks zone post that I sent to you beforehand. Extremely important, and people need to read it. And I know it's just a blog post, but it references a ton of peer-reviewed papers. It's incredibly important. It looks at the graphs that underlie the data that underlies this Marco thing. Okay, so. And there's 32 graphs listed in this web page, and there's 32 of those that do not look at all like this. Okay.
I thought we weren't going to interrupt each other. Could I just finish the point I'm making? And then I'll be very happy to, you can go off into the fairies and talk about whatever you like, but
What fairies? What are you talking about?
let's just focus on the point I'm making about whether or not this is statistically robust. This is your point. This is what you wanted to talk about.
Your point is that the Markov graph and stock prices have something to do with each other, and they don't.
We're talking about statistics, and we're talking about how you are comparing something that happened over long periods of time with something that happened over a short period of time. So that's the same in both cases. Now, if we look at the Markov graph, the same thing applies. That you can look at temperatures over the last 10 years or 20 years, for example, which is, the spike goes up over the last, 50 odd years to 2006. And it is entirely possible, because he was looking at 120-year periods, that during that hump in the Holocene temperatures, you might have got a spike. Like 1 month, for example, temperatures might have suddenly shot up, or one day they might have shot up, or in 5 years they might have shot up to the level that we had now. But we wouldn't know that, because that would get buried within the 120 years. So it's perfectly true that you can't say that we are now higher than every temperature during the Holocene. That's not the case. But okay, now that's not the problem I had with your film. Now the problem I had with your film, and we're getting back to your film here, which you want to defend, is the claim you made. You said several thousand years ago saw the rise of the great civilizations in a brittle period, which, according to many studies, was considerably warmer than today. This is known as the Holocene climate optimum. Well, the Holocene climate optimum, the end of it coincided with the beginning of civilizations. You showed the Great Pyramids. That was about like 3,500 years ago. Now, I asked you to list those studies, and this is what I wrote when we were having the discussion with my channel. Okay, then please list these studies. I presume you or your researchers read them, all right? Surely you have a list. Let's bring them up in the debate and see if they say what you claim they say. That was 2 weeks ago. You didn't respond, so I asked again when we were emailing, and I said, could you cite 3 of the many studies that you say show the Holocene was considerably warmer than today? Then you sent me to this CO2 science site, which is the one I guess you're talking about. And it was this, and it wasn't the Holocene at all. This was the medieval warm period project.
You're saying the medieval warm period is not in the Holocene? It is. Of course it is. It's in the Holocene.
The medieval warm period,
yeah.
Thanks for the science lesson. The medieval warm period was 1,000 years ago. The Holocene climate optimum, which is the one you're talking about,
which was even warmer,
6,000 years ago. So those are not the studies that you used to cite your claim that the great civilizations were a lot warmer.
So I sent you tens of studies. I sent you tens of them as part of this no trick zone thing. I'm looking at them here. They go on and on. Sachs 2007, Rodriguez 2009, Barrow 2009, Barron 2003, Isono 2009, Emmis 2003, Kim 2002. It goes on and on. I sent you enormous amounts of studies, peer-reviewed studies that show that it was warmer back then. So I don't know what the problem is. It's science, my friend.
All of these studies were of the medieval warm period. What I'm asking...
No, they're not. You're looking at 2 different things. You didn't look at both of the links.
What I'm asking you for...
Nope.
What I'm asking you for are the studies you say, and I'm going to quote it again, you say, according to many studies...
and I sent you those.
The rise of civilizations was considerably warmer than today. Can you just name one of those studies and send it to me now? I'll take a very quick look at it. Come on. Let's have it.
I sent you tens of studies. You didn't do your homework, my friend. You need to do your homework. I'm not going to stop and do it now. I'm going to put this in the show description. I sent you tens of them. You had time to look at it, and you didn't look at it. There's tens of them.
No, I've been out. I'm sorry. I've been busy. I'm trying to sell the house here. I've got a ton of stuff to do, and you might be sending me all sorts of information, but I didn't see anything that said that these are the studies which we used.
Did you send me lots of studies showing it was cooler? It was cooler all that time?
You can't even name one now, even when I ask you. Give me.
I just named like 5. Were you not listening? I just named them. Sachs 2007, Rodriguez 2009, Barrows 2009. It goes on and on.
Tom, no need to go on and on. Let's just have.
Well, you said I didn't name them. I named them.
Okay, name it again. I'll write it down. Let's have a look. What is it?
Sachs 2007, Northwest Atlantic.
Sorry, Tom, how do you spell that? Sachs?
SACHS.
SACH?
S.
X.
S like Jeff Sachs. SACH as in hotel.
Yeah.
S as in Sam.
Right. And his first name?
It's not there. Don't know.
Not there. What's the title of the paper?
Sachs 2007, Northwest Atlantic SSTs.
Northwest Atlantic.
Yep.
And then what was that last bit?
SST like sea surface
Sea
temperature.
surface temperature. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And this is supposed to show that, okay, all right, that's the one you're using.
These are references for Marco's graph, Marcotte's graph. That's what these are. There's tons of references there that underlie this graph that you want to use with the spike of doom. But these studies do not show the spike of doom. I know you want them to show it, but they don't. There's tens of them. And that's why Marcotte is backing away from it, because the spike of doom is not real. That's a critical part of this whole debate. This whole thing. We want to spend $50 trillion because we believe in the spike of doom, but it's not real. Very important. Okay. Right? The whole idea that we want to fight CO2 because of this is completely insane. The whole fight against CO2 is like fighting water or fighting oxygen. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just showed some screenshots, which I shouldn't have done because they show email addresses. So you can, if you could blank those out or something, I'd appreciate it. I think it shows yours as well as mine. Okay. So basically now you're saying that this, a minute ago, I was asking you for, let's remind ourselves, the papers that you say showed that the period of the rise of great civilizations was considerably warmer than today. You gave me one of the papers that you say you're referencing, and now apparently no, it's not. It's just something that was critical of Marcotte. Okay, so let me.
No, what?
Let me again. What are one of the many papers that show that the time of the rise of the great civilizations was considerably warmer than today? Are you saying that paper does show that?
I sent you tens of them.
No. Are you saying
I sent you tens of them?
Are you saying that paper shows it?
Show me what that paper says. There's tens of them. These are the papers underlying Marco. Marco used 73 reconstructions, and none of them show a spike of doom. Zero of them show a spike of doom. They show it warm back then, and no spike of doom.
Okay, all right.
Let's go through all of them, but yeah.
I'm only interested in the papers that you claim to have, which you've been, which I asked 3 or 4 times for you to send, and now suddenly you say you said.
And I sent them to you. Did you show me any papers that prove that it wasn't warm back then?
We're talking
that spike of doom is real. Which papers prove that?
We're talking about the papers that you claim in your movie, that there are many of them. Now,
okay, so you don't believe it. You don't think it was warmer, even though it was warmer back then.
Saying that it says something else. All right. Let me just stop sharing the screen, okay? Because I'm going to just go in.
All right, we're halfway through, and we only have what? We're into topic number 1. But yeah,
I know. Well, it'd be great if you could stay on track.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. I mean, the title of this paper does not suggest it's got anything to do with the climate optimum, but Northwest Atlantic sea surface temperatures. Let's have a look.
Yeah, it's got numbers that I have here in the post, that numbers like 4C, 9C, average of maybe 7 degrees C warmer. Okay. The whole idea that we're freaking out over it warm since 1975 because it's a little warmer, it's crazy.
Hang on.
And we think CO2 caused it.
Are you talking about the temperature of the Atlantic?
It says Northwest Atlantic Sea SSTs. Yeah.
So you're talking about the temperature of the Atlantic, right?
Okay.
You're not. Okay. So hang on a second. So your claim that the temperatures during the time of the rise of the great civilizations, we'll call it 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, you're saying that one of the papers that you used to show that it was globally warmer than today.
It's one of the papers. Yeah. Yep.
Was just
one of the papers. So
it's just the
let's talk about this, about how do you how do you know that the current warm period right now that we're in, that you're freaking out about, how do you know that that is global? I just sent you this thing about Antarctica has not warmed for decades. From 60 degrees south to 90, hasn't warmed for decades. So the current warm period is not even global. In the southeast U.S. and other places, it's not global even right now. So why don't you prove that the global average temperature right now is something to freak out about? Why hasn't our Antarctica warmed?
So getting back to your movie, which you were here to defend, you
Absolutely.
don't actually have multiple papers showing. The one paper that you've given me says nothing at
No,
all.
I gave you tens of papers. You have to look at all of them. Sweden, Europe, China. It
Yeah,
goes
but
on
if
and
it,
on and on.
yeah, but if the first one you give me doesn't say it, why should I trust all these other papers that you
Well, I
suppose?
think you need to do your homework. You didn't do your homework. As that's one reason why you believe in the climate scam is you have not done your homework. And we need to get into this because you believe all sorts of stuff about UHI and all sorts of other things because you have not done your homework. You've
It
just
sounds
believed,
like
you believe the consensus and you get all smug about it because you have gotten very smug and very condescending
Tom,
because you think that the experts must be right. So you've skipped the part where you've actually looked at it. You haven't really looked at the UHI. There's many things that you have not taken a look at. And
okay.
I have. I've interviewed hundreds of people who have very carefully looked at this stuff. I
Oh,
started out on your side. I believed in the climate scam.
yeah.
But when I looked into the data for myself and I wasn't lazy, then I found out that it's all BS.
Is
Really.
it possible
Anything.
for me to have a word in here? Is
I
it
think you've
possible
gotten
for
more
me
words
to-
than me so far. I think if we were to, I
yeah,
think you have.
that's because I'm talking about your movie and I'm talking about the problems in the movie, and you were here to defend your movie. And then suddenly we get this whole
It's all part of the
dialogue
movie, my
about
friend.
actually
It
this
is.
was
It's all part of the movie. Is it too hot out? I'm defending the movie. It's
I,
all part of the movie.
I'll just come back to the point. I can't have to keep coming back to this again because we get lost in all these diatribes.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
I'm worried about the filibuster thing because we got to get through our topics. We're only 45, we're halfway
what,
through already. So,
what your movie
yeah,
said
yeah,
was that according to many studies, the time of the great civilizations about 6,000 years ago was considerably warmer than today.
absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
the only paper so far that you've cited doesn't say that.
No, I cited tens
Oh,
of them.
you're
You didn't do your homework. I showed you these ahead of time, and now you're going to
sorry.
claim, oh, we don't have time to go through them now. You should have done this beforehand because I sent
I'm
these to you
sorry.
beforehand.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but none of the papers you've sent me says that that was the case. And you even you didn't know what this paper that you've just cited said. And it clearly is talking about Northwest Atlantic temperatures. So
Okay, how about the Iberian Shelf and New Zealand and Northern
I'm,
California, Northern Pacific, Northern
could you
Sweden,
stop
Eastern
interrupting?
Atlantic, Yukon, South China Sea, Tropical Pacific, Alaska, Tropical Africa. It goes on and on. That you're going to say, oh, you're just going to throw them out because they don't tell you what you want to hear?
Okay,
You got to look at them all. Yeah.
Tom, if you could just stop interrupting for a second.
Okay. Again, you're talking more than I am.
The point I'm trying to make
Okay.
is that the only paper you cited, and you said even you
No.
what's in it.
Not only paper. I've sent you 30 paper. Please stop saying only paper I cited.
No,
I sent you many, tens of them. There are 73 of them under the Marcotte thing. So
okay.
it's not one. It's not one.
I'll tell you what we'll do then.
Mhm.
Okay, when did you send these?
I don't know. You have to look.
You don't know. All right.
No, do you know? You should know.
No,
Don't you read my emails?
I get a blizzard of emails from you, and to be honest with you, I've been very busy.
Okay.
I've seen your movie, which is what
Yeah.
we're supposed to be talking about, and I know
Okay.
the team that you're making, and I know that I asked you three
Okay.
times. And the only time when you actually sent me papers was when you gave this link to CO2 science, and all
Yes.
of those papers refer to the medieval warm period.
Which is part of the Holocene. It's part of the Holocene. It was warm back then. It's very important. It's the reason why people on your side are trying to get rid of the medieval warm period. It's in the ClimateGate emails. We got to get rid of it because it wrecks your story. It was warm back then.
When I asked you just now to name one, the only paper you gave me, the one at the top of your list, doesn't even mention that it was warmer, and we don't even need to look at it. If you're saying, well, this is only looking at Atlantic temperatures, we don't need to bother.
Now, it doesn't mention that it was 7 degrees C warmer. I think you should have done your homework. I think you should have.
Why didn't your film cite these papers? Why didn't it say? Why say according to many studies when you?
Okay, it's an 80-minute movie. We can't cite everything. It's an 80-minute movie. There's no way that we can stop and cite everything. And I don't think you cite everything you said in your criticism of our movie. Like you said that you said that you had this idea that CO2 Coalition funded the movie because I'm a director of the CO2 Coalition.
No, I never said that.
No, you suggested it. Okay, you said I was a director, which I am not.
No. Okay,
Yep.
I did not say that. If you're going to quote me correctly, do your homework. Okay, I did not say that.
Okay. Now, what did you say about it being pretty obvious what our motivations were? You used the phrase pretty obvious what our motivations were. So what did you mean by that? How did you figure that out? Did you use a peer-reviewed study to figure that out? How did you come to that conclusion? You're all about facts. You think you know about my motivations. What are they?
have you finished? Have you finished now
I
with?
want an answer. I want an answer.
Have you
Hmm?
finished with your topic on the on the two graphs? Look for.
Absolutely. We're only in a topic one. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So now it's time for my topic, which I
Okay.
let me just get the reference up here. Okay, it was on the ice ages. Um, now there was you had Tony Heller on, and basically the claim he made was ice ages start when CO2 is at its maximum, and ice ages end when CO2 is at its minimum. And he says that's the exact opposite of what you'd expect of carbon dioxide, was controlling the temperature. Um, okay, I'm going to share the temperature reconstruction over the Phanerozoic, which is the last 500 million years, if I can do that with my rather inadequate technical abilities. So we go to PowerPoint and slideshow, play, and then share screen. Okay, so that was the claim made in the movie. Here's the temperature reconstruction by Scotties over the last 500 million years. The ice ages you can see at the bottom in blue. You've got the Ordovician, the Permo-Carboniferous, and right at the end on the right-hand side is the one that we're in at the moment, which is the Quaternary. Now, if we compare that with carbon dioxide levels, you can see during the Cambrian they were very high on the left-hand side there. And let's put the ice ages in. Two of them are very, very clear. You can see the one in the middle is the Carboniferous. So carbon dioxide levels drop way down to the Permo-Carboniferous, and that's when we had an ice age. And again, we've had a slow decline in carbon dioxide up to the present, which is when we had the ice age that we're still in. That started about 2.5 million years ago. The Ordovician is a little less clear, but there's been a lot of research into that, and there was a very dramatic drop in carbon dioxide levels around that time. And this is linked to what was called the Taconian orogenies. So as you probably know, when you have mountain building episodes, you get a lot of chemical weathering, and that takes carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. It ends up in limestone. So most of the limestone we see originally was carbon dioxide in the air. The reason for the drop in carbon dioxide in the Carboniferous was the huge amount of forest that took over a lot of the planet. It was very shallow seas and marshes and swamps and so on, which buried and sequestered those trees, which is why we get most of our coal from the Carboniferous. And in the right-hand side, there you can see the decline that we've had recently during the Eocene, which is the Himalayan alpine orogeny, the building up of the Alps and the Himalayas, which again weathered carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. It's pretty clear from this, and I mean, I can quote you a number of papers that have been done looking at this, which concludes that the ice ages were caused by the drop in CO2 concentration. So that was plainly wrong. It's just part of the evidence of the correlation. So why did you have that in the movie?
So you have the correlation backwards. You think that CO2 drives the temperature, but the temperature drives the CO2. That's why Tony Heller said that. That
Well, he was wrong.
oceans.
Hang on. I'll just quote you what Tony Heller said.
Yep.
Ice ages start when CO2 is at its maximum. Okay,
Yep.
clearly that is not the case. It was certainly at a minimum in the Carboniferous, and it was at a minimum for the ice age we're in. So that's incorrect. That's incorrect information. I'm sorry.
You're saying, let's see, what was the CO2 level during the Carboniferous in
During
parts per
the
million?
Carboniferous, it was actually
Yeah.
pretty similar to now, probably a little bit more.
So yeah, that's why Tony Heller said that. I heard him say that in a different debate that he had with you. You went back and forth on video. And near as I can tell, he said that because of the correlation between CO2 and temperature being backwards, that because as the oceans warm, they can hold less CO2 and thus atmospheric CO2 goes up. That's what he's talking about. And when CO2 hits its maximum, when it hit, then it turns back the other way and then you get the cooling.
Whatever he was talking about, he was wrong. When he says that ice ages happen when CO2 is at its maximum, as you can see from this reconstruction of CO2 and ice ages, that is completely wrong.
So what you're arguing is that CO2 is the climate control knob, right? That's the central part of this argument.
I'm arguing is that Tony Heller was wrong to say that ice ages start when CO2 is at its maximum, as you can see in front of you in this reconstruction, which shows when ice ages happened and what the level of CO2 was. I'm just saying he's wrong.
You're saying he's wrong because CO2 is the climate control knob, or what does cause
he's wrong because, as you can see, and as geologists have concluded, CO2 was at a minimum when ice ages started. He's wrong.
When ice ages started at a minimum, okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but when did the cooling start? When did the cooling start for that particular cool period?
Well, you can see here from the reconstruction. They started as we go into Homo carboniferous, and cooling started as we go into the Quaternary, and again, cooling started as we go into the Ordovician icehouse because of CO2 going down. So
because of CO2 going down, because you're saying that CO2 is the climate control knob. You said that because?
No. I didn't say that. Tony Heller is wrong.
Okay.
You need to get back to what Tony Heller said in your movie that you supposedly did your homework on. He made a statement that was incorrect. You can lead it in different directions and jangle keys at me and hope I'm going to divert from this. But sorry, we're bringing this back to the statement he made in your movie, and he was wrong. Now, you can talk about the move on, we'll go on to something else, or you can keep trying to argue that somehow black is white. But you can see from the reconstruction that's wrong. And don't try and tell me the reconstruction is wrong, because that's used by climate skeptics all the time.
Oh, okay. I'm saying, let's be done with that. But I am saying that CO2 is not the climate control knob. That's the most important.
I'm finding fault with all the misinformation that was in your movie. There's a lot more of it. If we have time to talk about it, but
let's do it. Let's go beyond the 90 minutes. Let's talk about all of it. There's a related thing that you said that I want to bring up right here, right now, that you argued with Tony Heller as part of the same argument you had in the past. You said, you're arguing this is very important, and I will be heard on this. Okay. You said, we know that a similar positive feedback happened during the ice ages. Each cooling and warming phase is amplified so that a tiny bit of cooling ends up freezing half the planet, and a tiny bit of warming ends up thawing it out again. But each time something had to act as that initial trigger. So this is a central belief of yours that is absolutely wrong. It's a very important central belief. You've said this thing, not true. That just a tiny bit of warming or cooling because of positive feedback, a tiny bit of warming just causes more and more and more until maybe the oceans boil away or something, or a tiny bit of cooling the other way, the whole planet freezes. That's not how it works. Our planet is way more stable than that. So this whole positive feedback thing is a critical thing that you have tried to sell that is absolutely not true. I'm going to say that again. This positive feedback thing that you've tried to sell is not true, and it's incredibly important.
Thanks for sharing your opinion. I understand you're embarrassed about the fact I've just pointed out a big mistake in your movie. You want to talk about something else, that's fine. Thanks for sharing. Now, we've only got 10 minutes. We can move on to the next topic, or we can log out now and go for the last half hour. Because we might as well, if you like, I mean, if you're done with talking about the ice ages and CO2 levels.
Yeah, I'd like to go on to UHI or all sorts of other stuff.
We can move on to your next topic if you like. And what I'll do, log out, log back in again.
Okay.
And what's the next topic you want to discuss?
UHI, urban heat islands.
UHI. Okay. Right. Go for it, Tom.
I'm sorry. Okay, now I'm recording. Okay, next topic is UHI. I think
Yeah,
this is a very, very important topic, and I've heard a lot about it because I've had a lot of people who have looked at the stations very carefully and talked at length about it on my podcast.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's critical. Anthony Watts has talked about it. Ray Sanders, Ross McKittrick, Willie Soon, the Connollys. A lot of people have talked about it. It's extremely important. And you said a lot of things in your critique of Climate the movie that are not correct. They're
Okay.
absolutely not correct about UHI. Okay. You
Right.
said that the UHI affects the temperature between urban and rural areas, but not the temperature trend. No, it affects the temperature trend. Then another thing you said is that things can change. Maybe an office block can be put up with large windows, but when this happens, when something changes around an existing thermometer, of course, researchers recalibrate their equipment to compensate for this. They don't. See, it's very important that there's all these different things that can affect the temperature readings. And people who have actually gone out there have gotten out of their armchairs and gone out and looked at these stations. It's appalling how much stuff is around some of these stations that is not being accounted for. That there was a famous case where there were jet planes landing at an airport in the UK, and there was a heat record that was set right there, right while these jets were landing. So that was a huge UHI right there, and it was used to sell a whole global warming story that was caused by jets. It was not caused by carbon dioxide at all. You also argued that in developed cities like Paris, there's not much UHI. It doesn't happen much anyway, because the weather stations are located in parks and urban green spaces. But I don't think that part of it is true. And then there is a whole UHI island in Paris that when the wind blows, it can blow hot air from all of Paris around. So that air moves around, and the UHI is a very important thing that is not being properly accounted for.
Okay. That's actually not what I said. You
What did you say?
should do your homework.
I have it right here. I have your script right here. Do you
I've
have
got
it?
it here too. I'll read it for you.
Okay.
If you like,
Okay.
play you the clip.
Okay.
Because
Why don't you read what you said?
I was prepared for you misquoting me because of what you
Okay.
said in your emails. I thought, nah, he hasn't got it right. Okay, this is
Okay.
what I said. They, referring to researchers, discovered that in most developed countries, the heat,
Okay.
this is not developing countries, I'm not about China and Indonesia or places, most developed countries.
Yeah.
Most developed countries, the heat island effect certainly impacts the temperature difference between urban and rural areas, but not the temperature
That
trend.
is wrong. That is
Um,
wrong. That
and
is a very
well,
important thing you're saying that is not true.
can I finish?
Sure. Go
And
for it.
it's a trend that's being measured. That's why we call it global warming, not
Nope.
global warm. Now,
Nope.
what I said was this is according to researchers. Now, if you're telling me they've got it wrong, I suggest you have a debate with them, tell them why they're wrong.
Okay. So when
Well,
you say researchers, which ones? Okay. Is it
the
all of
one-
them? Some of them? Two of them? How many?
the ones I cited in the video, and I'll show you if you'd like to
Okay.
have a look, I can show you.
Okay. When you're saying researchers, you're just talking about a person or two. Are you saying there's no other research that contradicts what they're saying? Because you said that also about the whole thing that CO2 is the climate control knob. And when I asked you about that, you said you backed away and said, oh, researchers say it. I'm not saying it. I'm just quoting research. Right? Same deal here?
We're jumping around a bit. We're not talking.
Well, let's talk about UHI because UHI is a big deal. I think maybe
come back to what the discussion is about.
UHI, yeah, rural temperatures are warming way less than urban temperatures. Way less. It's a pretty big deal. It's a very big deal.
Okay. We're talking about the urban heat island effect.
We are. We are talking about it.
Now, let me show you the.
While you're looking at that, I'm going to talk about Ray Sanders just talked about going to a temperature station, and you could back up your car so your car exhaust is is feet away from the temperature sensor. And these modern sensors can, if there's a breath of a hot air that goes past them, it can capture that. So there's a lot of extra warming that's shown on the thermometer that is not caused by CO2. Okay. Very important.
So what I was referring to, and I cited the studies, was the ones here that show that actually the temperature trend is pretty much the same in urban and rural. Now, there's no doubt there's the heat island effect, clearly. Cities are warmer than the countryside. They have ways of, it's a problem. Of course, it's a problem, but there are ways of calibrating the equipment. It's a bigger problem in countries that are fast developing, because in most of the cities where this urban temperature equipment is, it's in parks and urban areas where you don't get the development, but you do get problems where you cite them in China, for example. They often get relocated, but then when they get relocated, they have to adjust the temperatures there. This is Vienna. Now here, what they've done is they've closed the gap between the urban and rural temperature difference to show that the trend is the same. But that's not what I had a problem with. I don't have a problem with that with your movie. The problem I had with your movie was this. You showed a graph of rural temperature, and you quite correctly said rural temperature is different to urban temperature. Don't have a problem with that. And you then showed how it compares in the 1940s to today. And your exact quote, I think, let me just get it. This is your quote from the movie. You said there was marked cooling until the 70s. After that, temperatures recover, but they are still today barely higher than they were in the 1940s. And this is the graph from the movie, the reconstruction. Now, you attributed that to soon 2021. I couldn't find it, so I asked you for it. And it was one of these rare occasions where you actually gave me the paper that you were citing in the movie. It was actually not soon 2021. It was soon 2020, but it's another minor slip. Don't worry about that. Okay, and so this is the link you gave me, and this is the article here. Okay, so I read this article. Oh, sorry, 2023, my mistake. See, we all make mistakes. This is his recreation of rural and urban in the thick, the solid red line, and rural only in the dashed blue line. Now, the first thing that I noted on this is that it completely contradicts what you said in the movie and what every scientist that studies this says.
What? Wait a minute. Every scientist?
Every scientist who studies this.
Every scientist who studies this. Everyone?
Every scientist who studies this says that urban temperatures are higher than rural. Are you questioning that? You said that in your movie, and now you're questioning it.
Okay, I was waiting for you to come up with some other totally preposterous thing, which you normally do about every scientist believe it. Sorry.
Here's an idea. Maybe let me finish a sentence before jumping in. Okay. Your movie said that urban temperatures are always higher than rural. I can't think of any exceptions to that. I mean, there may be, but what struck me was that if you look in the period 1920 to 1955, according to Willie Soon, the rural temperatures were actually higher than the urban temperatures. Well, that makes no sense, but okay, it bumps up the 1940s temperatures a bit. And then on the right-hand side there, the dashed line goes a bit below the urban temperatures, as it should. So automatically that puts the 40s up a bit. But okay, it still shows a fair bit of warming, and it still shows that we're a lot warmer than the 1940s if you only look at the raw temperature data. So I was curious as to how you managed to extrapolate from that it was a lot cooler. So I'll show you your graph, and it's that. And if I put it up against the Soon graph, which you say is your source, and we've got the dates all lined up at the bottom, we've got the temperature anomaly lined up on the x-axis to make it fit. What is very obvious is they start off very nicely, but in the 1940s, your film shows these rural temperatures as being way higher than Willie Soon shows them to be. And at the end, if you look on the right-hand side to what you call now, your line of rural temperature data suddenly dips down, whereas his keeps going up. So, of course, the way that you've redrawn this, it looks as though the 1940s were only marginally cooler than now. Why did you change Soon's graph? Why not just show the original?
Wait a minute. I think you're misrepresenting what we're actually looking at here. Isn't in the 1940s and what you're showing us here, there's a dip in that dotted line towards the end, the rural only? Okay. The 1940s and that dotted line are just a little warmer. What?
I'll show it to you again. You can tell me why they don't seem to match. This is the Willie Soon reconstruction from 2023 that you
Okay,
told.
stop. Okay, so we're looking at the dotted line, and there's a dotted line at the right side of there that's
Okay.
just a tad warmer than the 1940s. What's your problem with that?
Okay.
What's your problem?
A tad warmer. Well, okay, here's the
Oh,
problem.
it's a little bit. Look at that.
Okay, here's the problem. When you recreate this graph, you don't show it. What you do is you create your own and you grossly inflate the warming of the 1940s and you underestimate the warming right at the end there, the recent temperatures.
No, we don't. No.
Looking
No. It's a little. What Martin showed in the movie is it's a little warmer, maybe, than the 1940s. I don't know if I even believe that, but I don't know what you're saying. The 1940s were warm. 1940s were warm, and it's warm since 1970s. I don't see what your problem is.
Are you hearing what I'm saying? I think everybody can see this.
Okay, what are you saying? Say it very clearly.
Can you see the cursor? I've got the cursor running over.
Okay. So there, where the cursor is, it's kind of similar, isn't it? Willie Soon's 1940s are very close to the thing. It's similar.
It's kind of similar, is it?
It's very similar, right? Willie Soon's is a little higher than the hand-drawn graph, right? Right where it says 1940s.
Yeah, a little higher.
It's a little higher. Willie Soon's. Are you saying? Yeah. So what?
I'm looking at your line. I'm asking why you changed it. Why did you not just show his graph? Why did you make this graph?
Yeah, I didn't do this, but it's just a simplified graph that generally shows it warmed into the 1940s, it cooled to the 1970s, and it warmed after that. This is all correct. I don't see what your problem is.
Yeah, no.
I have no idea what your problem is.
Okay, I'll explain.
Okay, so what are you trying to? We're talking about UHI here. What is your point about UHI? What actually is it? You're saying it's not a big deal? You're saying jets weren't landing right by a thermometer is not a big deal, or hot exhaust on there not a big deal. Hot tarmac. We're talking about UHI. We're talking about UHI. It's very important. We have these class 5 stations that have all sorts of warming around them. We've got pictures of Weber grills right next to a thermometer. We have all these problems with UHI. And you're saying, oh, we have experts going out there that are correcting for that. There's no evidence of that. Anthony Watts has done this huge project where he's gone out and looked and found all of these problems. Nobody's correcting. I had Daryl Richardson talking about this in Fargo in great detail. He was just on my podcast. He saw a huge UHI problem in Fargo, North Dakota. Nobody corrected it. He sent emails, he called, nobody would correct this problem. So it's a huge problem. And you're thinking that experts are fixing it for us? They're not. I don't know why they're not, but this whole idea that, oh, don't worry your pretty little head about UHI. We need to worry about it because it's a big deal. If we're going to freak out about 1 degree and we're going to let UHI be, in some places, be 2 or 5 degrees, then we have a huge problem. So UHI is a huge deal.
I can always tell when I've cornered you on something because you start flying off into all kinds of different things. Now
we're talking about UHI. This is exactly our topic. This is right on the topic. Okay, I'm not flying off. I'm talking about UHI. I don't know what you're talking about. But I'm talking directly about problems with UHI, and they are huge. Okay.
Now I'm going to take you back to what I criticized of your film, which was that you have represented that as being a recreation of the Willie Soon graph. I'm just going to show it to you again. And that's a drawing that someone in your graphics department made, and you don't seem to be aware of it. Fine, I'm sure you weren't implicated in doing this. You let them get on with it. But what they've done is that they've changed the graph. They've got
how would you like that graph to look? You just want to use the Willie Soon's graph. You don't want a simplified graph.
It doesn't matter to you then that they claim this is a graph by Willie Soon and then they just draw something completely different.
It's a hand-drawn version of it, but what is the lie there? What's the difference? It's not 1940s. It's showing generally what the graph shows. So I don't know what your problem is. You're using this to try to argue that UHI isn't a big deal? That's your argument? We're talking about UHI, and you're just worried about, oh, this graph is simplified. And so then let's not worry about UHI? It's a huge deal.
So you're saying it's generally what he did, but it's not a reproduction of what he did.
No, it's not a reproduction. It doesn't show every little fluctuation. But no graph we have shows every little fluctuation. There's tons of graphs being used. XKCD, they don't show every fluctuation. No.
As you can see from the 1940s, it's showing the temperature as being a lot higher than is represented in Willie Soon's graph.
No, it's not. It's not showing that. Look at the dotted line.
On the right hand side, you'll see that the the dashed line, which is
No,
raw temperatures, goes
no.
up. Yours goes down and then stays flat. So it's not a reproduction of what
Willie Soon's graph, that dotted line goes down at the end, right? So I don't know what you're seeing, but
wait, I,
yeah,
I'm happy to let people who are watching
yeah,
see this, listen to what I'm
absolutely,
saying,
absolutely. But I don't
and
want people to see this and go, okay, UHI is not a big deal, and we can let exhaust
let
blow on
me.
the thermometers. Don't worry your pretty little head about it.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure people can see the point. I won't explain
Okay.
it to you because I've explained it 3 times and you don't get it. Okay. Or you say you don't get it, but the fact that you're trying to move the
So
conversation.
do you get this idea that we shouldn't let hot exhaust blow on the thermometers or hot tarmac?
There we go again.
Do,
Now
do,
we're
do
all
you?
talking about
This is
something else.
UHI. No, no, this is UHI. It's urban
Yeah.
heat island.
Well, I,
This
I,
is
I
my
don't.
topic, and we're talking about urban heat island. What is
You
your
said
problem
you
with
want
this?
to defend your movie, and these are the criticisms I had in the movie. So I'll
Okay.
explain to the people watching this. This is not a reproduction. If you're going to reproduce a graph, you have to reproduce it accurately. You can't just generally reproduce it, go, well, it goes almost like that, and that's about right. And then from the drawing that you've made, which has a grossly inflated 1940s temperatures and a deflated temperature
No, it does not. It does not.
essentially, then
It
say, oh,
absolutely does not.
very small.
Nope, it does
So
not.
that was the problem I had with that one.
Okay. Okay, so how about, are you defending your lies that you talked about? Oh, if there's a problem, researchers recalibrate their equipment. Are you saying that's what's actually happening? Because that's actually what's not happening. And it's very important. That is not happening. I have tons of examples of people talking on my podcast in great detail about these huge problems that are not being fixed. So you're
Okay.
saying they're being fixed. I'm saying they're not being fixed. And how
Okay.
about this issue of ghost stations? Ray Sanders talks about ghost stations where stations are reporting data. Day after day, they're reporting data, but you go there and there's no station there. What is going on? Up to maybe 30% of these stations in the UK are ghost stations where they haven't had a temperature station there, but they're making up the data. Okay. They're just, okay, if there was a station there, this is what the data would have been. Are you defending that practice? Because that's an actual thing. It's just not in the UK. It's made up data. And I think that gives people way too much latitude to make up data that fits whatever they want it to say. That's a huge problem with the making up of data. And that's a problem with the hockey stick as well, that they carefully selected the proxies because they had an answer in mind and then they made the data. They fudged the data until they got the answer they wanted. So that's a huge problem with the ghost stations. Are you defending ghost stations? And are you defending
what I'm doing,
measuring temperatures right next to a jet plane exhaust?
no, what I'm doing is
No?
pointing out that your movie did not reproduce the graph in the way that it was originally
Okay.
shown.
All right. So you don't want to talk about
And
UHI
as
at
a
all. That's what
result-
you're telling me.
As a
Fair enough.
result,
Yep.
well, you keep asking me what I'm saying, so I'm happy to tell you. As
No,
a
I'm talking about what you said. And
As a
you
result
talked
of
about this
that,
stuff
you-
about researchers compensating. That's
As
what
a-
you said. Are you defending that? Yes or no?
as a
Sounds
result
like you're
of
not.
that- No, I'm saying
You're not
I'm
defending.
saying that you
Okay.
did not reproduce that graph accurately. You inflated the 1940s temperatures. You deflated the temperatures in the 21st century.
Nope.
Drew your conclusion from that, and that
Bullshit.
was a June paper.
Nope. Nope.
But anyway,
All right. Bullshit.
so that was another criticism I have of the movie. So there's two,
Okay.
and a statement that were wrong.
Actually, let's talk about extreme weather. I noticed that you didn't mention extreme weather at all. What do you think about that? Is the weather getting worse? So there's a whole idea that we have to do this because the weather is getting worse. Is it getting worse? We talk a lot about that in the movie, and you were strangely silent on that. Do you think hurricanes are getting worse? Does CO2 cause bad weather? Pretty important.
I think it's my turn for the last topic.
Okay,
Tom.
so you're not going to answer?
Well, Tom,
You want to talk about the?
Tom, you wanted to talk about your movie.
That's in the movie.
My
Extreme weather's
criticism
in
of
the
your
movie.
And all of a sudden, when I start actually delving into the details and showing you what you got wrong.
Wait a minute. This is me.
Talk about the weather. Talk about the weather. No, I'm going to.
It's in the movie, my friend. It's a key part of the movie, and you're avoiding it because I think you know that CO2 doesn't cause bad weather. You're avoiding this topic. It's a major topic in the movie. You don't want to talk about it because it blows your whole case out of the water. The weather is not getting worse. CO2 can't be making it worse because it's not getting worse. But you don't talk about that. It blows your story right out of the water. Why do you not talk about it? We're talking about the movie. I'm defending it. And you're so silent on this one topic. Why? Why are you so silent?
Why don't you want me to go to my last topic? What is it?
Because I don't want you to avoid this important topic about my movie.
Are we done?
You're avoiding it because...
Are we done with the topic now?
No, I'm saying that catastrophic human-caused global warming is the most massive scientific fraud in human history. And you're avoiding this very important extreme weather topic because it blows your case out of the water, which it does. The weather's not getting worse. You don't want to talk about it. Are droughts getting worse globally, floods, etc.? They're not. You don't want to talk about this topic because it's so strong on our side. It's so important that CO2 does not cause bad weather. Why don't you just say, if you believe it, why don't you just say CO2 causes bad weather? We can put a pin in that. Okay. Do you believe it?
Okay.
Okay. You're laughing.
We talk about the weather. It's so British. Look,
talking about talking about the weather. There's a $50 trillion scam based on the idea that CO2 causes bad weather. $50 trillion. They want to control every bit of our lives because CO2 makes the weather worse. And you don't believe it. You don't even want to talk about it. I think it's very important that you do not want to talk about it. This very important issue. You want to talk about, the 1940s, whatever. But the whole bad weather thing is so important. You don't get part of this $50 trillion. None of this money gets dispersed. None of this power and control happens if people figure out that this whole thing is a scam, which it is.
Carry on ranting.
Okay.
Carry on ranting for a bit while I come on to my topic. I'm just going to look.
Okay, so yeah, CO2 is not the climate control knob. The weather is not getting worse, and the Earth is not too hot. The whole idea it's too hot right now, it may be 15 degrees centigrade. It's crazy because cold weather kills way more people than hot weather. And warm periods have always been known as climate optimums. Humans and life on Earth do better in warmth. When we retire here from Minnesota, we go someplace warm. When we vacation, we go someplace warm. We're a tropical species. We die outside at temperatures that are not that cold because we're a tropical species. Warmer is better. CO2 is better. CO2 is great for plants. The planet is greening because of CO2. In greenhouses, when you want the plants to grow very well, you add additional CO2 in there. The whole idea that CO2 is a pollutant and we should fight CO2, completely crazy. This is one of the most stupid scams in the history of mankind, and it's dying right now. It's absolutely imploding in front of our eyes right now.
I'm sorry.
Thanks for getting out of it. It's happening. It's dying, and I'm loving it.
I shouldn't have given you scope for ranting because obviously you can go on forever and ever.
Hey, you told me to do that. You said while you were trying to figure something out, I should do it. Thank you for giving me the chance.
No, that's all right.
No, this is very fun. I appreciate this.
On to my third topic. I wasn't sure that we'd ever make it this far, to be honest. But this is a very quick one because you had Shaviv on. Talking about galactic rays.
Cosmic rays. He doesn't say galactic rays. I don't know where you're getting that. He says cosmic rays.
Galactic rays.
He says cosmic rays.
He
doesn't say galactic. I checked. I did my homework.
But they are basically particles that come from when we pass through the spiral line.
So in the interest of time, why don't I just tell you my side very quickly, because I'm not going to defend it as being the truth with a capital T. I think clouds are very important. Everyone on both sides agrees that we don't understand clouds. The cosmic ray theory is one possible explanation. Maybe it's right, maybe it's not. I think it sounds plausible, but I'm not staking anything on it. It may be or maybe not. We have to figure out clouds, and we have not figured. We haven't. We don't know exactly what causes some periods to be cloudy and some not. We can't model them. They're so hard to model. So it's one possible explanation. Is it the truth? I don't know. But we need to figure it out because we don't understand natural variability. We absolutely don't. We don't know what's going to happen next because it's so complicated. But the whole idea that if we know the amount of CO2, then we know the temperature, we don't. It's all about complex natural variability, and the temperature fluctuates all over the place. The idea that we can control it by controlling CO2, that's not true. Absolutely not. But yeah, the whole cloud thing, it's a controversy.
I'm referring to the paper he did. He talks about when the Earth goes through the spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, we do get bombarded with more cosmic rays. It's possible that these then create particles on which drops of water can coalesce and causing more clouds. Now, this is the theory behind it. The problem about the celestial arm of the galaxy thing is that even in his, I mean, this is what struck me about this. I thought, well, I don't get it. I mean, I'm not the brightest guy in the world, but it didn't make any sense to me. But when I read his paper, he actually said, and I'll quote from it, we emphasize that our conclusion about the dominance of the CRF over climate variability is valid only on multi-million year timescales. And the reason for that is because we only go through the spiral arm about once every 20 million years. So that can't be the cause of recent warming.
No. So there's all sorts of short-term implications to this
And
too,
I'm
because
just
there's
about to
changes
get on
of,
to that.
yeah,
If
there are
if you
changes
let
on the
me
sun that
speak,
can affect it. Yeah.
if you let me speak, I'm just
Yep.
about to get onto that. There is the cosmic ray cycle, which takes place in concert with the sun's 11-year cycle. And what happens there is, as the sun gives out more particles, it blows away the cosmic rays. It basically acts, I think, as a shield and so on. So you get this 11-year cycle with cosmic rays are more intense and less intense. And if that was the cause of warming, what I'm not quite clear about on this, and this has been the criticism of this theory, is that we ought to see an 11-year cycle in warming. We ought to see it get warmer and cooler and warmer and cooler, and we don't see that. What we're seeing is a gradual rise in temperatures over the last 50 years.
No,
So that idea, yeah, even if clouds did warm the planet, and they seem to be feedback neutral, but if they did, that would seem to negate that idea.
Yeah, so you're looking for one control knob that if it's not CO2, then it has to be this 11-year cycle. That's not how it works at all. There's all these different cycles.
What I'm looking for and what I believe. Tom, don't tell me what I'm looking for. You've got no idea.
Well, you won't tell me. You won't tell me. Do you understand natural variability? Do you think you understand it?
Have we?
You don't.
Have we got off topic now? What I might be talking about the cosmic rays. Did you hear what I said?
I heard what you said, and what I am saying is that doesn't prove it. That you're saying, oh, there's no 11-year cycle, therefore it's not cosmic rays.
No, I
you've
didn't
way
say
oversimplified it. What are you saying? What are you saying? There's all sorts of stuff happening. There's all sorts of things happening. There's volcanoes. There is a cosmic rays. There's just tons of things happening. And just because you can't see this cycle, that means cosmic rays are not part of the picture. Maybe they are part of the solution, but there's so many things happening. Everything's moving around. Okay. I don't know what the solution is. I don't think 100 years from now, we're going to understand climate well enough to model it because it's so complex. We don't understand even the initial state of all the variables. We don't understand how they interact. So the whole climate puzzle is so complicated that I don't think we can rule hardly anything in or out, except we can rule out CO2 being the climate control knob. That much we know. We have all this data showing CO2 not being the climate control knob. But what actually causes the climate to change? Can we predict it? No, it is so complicated.
But your movie gave the impression that it could be cosmic rays, which is causing warming. And what I'm saying is,
that could be one factor. Yeah, we talked about clouds. Clouds are complex. That's a possible. We're not saying, we never said that this is the reason. No, we didn't, because I don't think it is. It could be a large factor or not, but we never said it's the reason. And you're not telling me what you think is the reason. You backed away when I asked you, is CO2 the climate control knob? You said, oh, I haven't said that. I asked you, is the weather getting worse? You said, I haven't said that. I asked you, is the earth too hot? You said, I never said that. I'm wondering why you're even on the side you're on if you're not willing to stand behind any of this stuff. There's all these core beliefs of people that believe in the climate scam, and I don't think you actually believe in them. I can't tell what's going on here. Do you believe in them?
You can't. You seem to be trying very hard to paint a picture of me. You've got no idea.
Well, I'm direct. I asked you these questions. I'm giving you the answers. So I have some idea. I have your answers to these questions.
Well,
I do.
To be honest with you, I'm not interested in answering questions about my personal beliefs in anything. You came to me, remember, you came to me, not the other way around, because you wanted a chance to answer the criticisms I made of your movie. And I've been trying really hard the last hour and a half to lay out my criticisms of your movie. I've been trying to pull you back from these wonderful little forays you go into all kinds of...
into UHI? I'm talking about UHI, which is our topic. Sorry about talking about our topic.
And bring you back to the criticisms I've been making.
Okay. Let's talk about this criticism you had, that you said we misrepresent science. We push a political message. It's fair to ask, I'm quoting you directly here, it's fair to ask what the motivation is. And when you follow the money, as Deep Throat used to say, it becomes pretty obvious. Okay. So what exactly did you mean there? You
Oh,
think you know our motivations? Are you a mind
we
reader?
got,
Or you
we
followed
got,
the money and
we got
became
10
pretty
minutes.
obvious? You use
We
the
got,
word obvious. So what is my motivation? And
we
how
got,
is that obvious?
okay. I'm going to end on this note because
Okay, so okay,
we
go ahead.
agreed to do 90 minutes. So I'll just answer that very, very quickly.
Okay.
I don't know what the motivation was for faking or airbrushing out that warming at the end. I don't know what the motivation was for taking the Willie Soon graph and exaggerating the warming in the 40s. I don't know what the
I don't know.
motivation was for misrepresenting the fact that we've had ice ages when CO2 levels were low and claiming that they were high, which even you have pretty much admitted was a mistake. So I don't know what the motivation is for all this misrepresentation of the science that was done in your movie. I can look at the facts, and the fact is that the CO2 coalition, of which you are a member,
Not a director. Why did you say I was a director?
not a, well,
Why did you
because
say that?
now interesting, because I made
Yeah.
a mistake. Now you called it a lie. It's interesting that when Lundqvist you put 2000 for date of his paper instead of 2010.
Yeah,
It's a
that,
minor
oh
mistake.
wow, that one digit thing. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly, Tom. It's a minor
Okay.
mistake.
Minor
Mistakes.
mistake.
And I'll tell you
Okay.
something I do, which you never
Yeah.
do, and I bet you're not going to do this now, even though you've seen a few things I've shown you that you got wrong. You're not going to correct any of that. I have a correction section in every video that I make. If people point out a mistake, as you did in calling you a director instead of a member of the CO2 coalition, I correct it. That's what I do. I also
Okay.
cite my sources, which you
Okay.
obviously do. And now, hang on, you asked me a question, so
I asked about the pretty obvious thing, and you're off on some. You're off
and
doing fairy tales. You're
yeah,
not. You're off on doing stuff. You don't answer the pretty obvious
no,
thing. I want you to answer the pretty obvious thing.
I was answering the question when you
Are you
suddenly picked me up on the fact that I called you a director
okay?
instead of a
Okay.
member.
All right.
You
I'm,
picked me
I'm
up on
listening.
that, so I'm answering that. Now I'll get back to the issue
Okay.
that
All
you.
right.
I'm going with what you're going with, right?
Great. Thank
So
you.
if we get back to the issue of what would motivate people to do this, the CO2 coalition says in its mission statement, it's very clear, it was on the website, it's been altered now, but it said that its mission was to promote CO2 and fossil fuels. That's your mission.
Did it say that? To promote fossil fuel? Did it say that ever?
Yes, it
Said to
did. You
promote
want
fossil
me
fuels.
you want me
Okay.
to show it to you?
No, I don't. I want you to say
Okay,
what this
it
whole
did.
pretty obvious thing is.
I know
Okay.
they took it off. They took it off when
I
they
didn't know that.
realized that was
Didn't
a
know
bit
that.
discriminating. Because
Great.
the Marshall Institute from which you came used to be funded by Exxon, and you've had funding from the Mercer Family Foundation.
I've had funding.
I'm
I have
talking
not.
about the CO2 Coalition, you
Yeah.
collectively, CO2
Yeah. It's
Coalition.
not me. I have not gotten
And
1 cent from anyone.
so
Not 1 cent from anyone.
I'm
Okay.
not,
That's very important. Have
I'm,
you gotten any money from anyone?
no. Are you,
No? Nobody?
why would anybody pay me?
Oh, how about
Oh,
for writing for
okay,
the
no, hang
Guardian?
on. Sorry, I fell for that.
Okay.
You're changing the subject again.
No,
And
okay. Yeah, let's get back to the pretty
every
obvious thing.
time you're on the ropes, you want to go off on a tangent. You
I'm
ask
no, I'm on the ropes about the pretty obvious thing. Go
you
ahead. Pretty obvious.
Tom, you asked me a question
Yes, and
about
it's been
about
5 minutes. You still haven't answered it. Pretty obvious. Go ahead.
because you keep tracking on to something else. Now listen, and I'm getting
Okay.
on to the point. What motivates the oil companies to fund a political organization or lobby group or think tank or whatever you want to call yourselves, whose mission is to promote fossil fuels and make a film that then alters graphs and does jiggery pokery with the facts? That I don't know, and you don't know because you can't look into the minds of those guys working for the oil industry. Now, we did 3 topics each. You added that one about motivation. I answered your question, and we only have a few minutes
No,
left.
wait a minute. You said
And
it's pretty
we've got
obvious what my motivation is. You did not answer that. What was my motivation? You're saying it's
both
pretty
yours
obvious.
personally. I've no idea.
Okay,
I'm
why did you say it was pretty obvious?
because I'm not talking about you personally. I'm talking about the people that funded the movie, and I'm wondering why they funded a movie that misrepresented facts. As I said, and you didn't quote me obviously because you don't like to quote what I actually said.
I quoted you a lot on this very
What,
debate. I
what I
quoted you a ton.
what I
Please
actually
don't lie
said,
about that. Yeah.
what I actually said was there wouldn't be a problem with an educational film that was entirely accurate and that issued corrections and that cited its sources. The problem I have is with a movie that is distributed free of charge, so clearly you're not expecting to make money. You spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this movie. You had a film crew going out to Africa or wherever. I don't know what you spent. I don't know who funded it. And
Well, how come you gave a number then if you don't know? It's kind of weird.
But
are you just guessing?
I've done filmmaking before.
Okay.
I know how much it costs to send a film crew out to Africa.
Okay.
And so you've got all this money spent. You're not recouping it from any distribution deal. So you know you're not selling it to the History Channel. It's free of charge on the internet. So there's got to be some motivation behind it for the people who are funding it, not you personally. Clearly, you are you know, religiously fanatical.
No. That's bullshit. No, I'm not religiously fanatical. No, I am in this because I am here for the truth. I'm honestly fighting for the truth. The truth as I believe it. I've dug into this. I've spent so much time looking into this, and catastrophic AGW really is the most massive scientific fraud in human history, and I'm fighting that because it's the right thing to do. I'm not making any money off of this. I'm defending the truth.
I'm sure you're a fervently very whatever. I'm sure you believe in whatever you believe, but today we were talking about the science. We've got 2 minutes 50 left, so I think it's better to leave it here because we've covered all the topics that we both chose. And I tried as much as possible to keep it on focus with what was wrong with your movie and what I found wrong with your movie. And then people can make their own judgments based on that. Anyway, it's been fun talking to you, Tom.
Yeah, let's do it again. Okay.
Thank you for being a good sport, and I'll catch up with you if I ever do another criticism of you.
All right,
God help me. Let's
do this again. Let's do this again. I would love.
Hey, listen, and could you do me a favor? List those papers that you're talking about, because if I can't find them, I'm going to hound you for those bloody papers.
I already sent them to you. I sent them to you already.
We will find them, and I will put that. I will tack that on to the video on the channel. All right.
Thanks, Talk to you later.
Catch up with you. Bye.